An unbelievable year for the Los Angeles Dodgers. 110 victories for LA, a new franchise record. And you see where this 2022 club stacks up in terms of the winningest ball clubs in the history of Major League Baseball. And LA is right there. And if you haven't paid attention to West Coast baseball, Tom, you may think that they cakewalk to that, but this is a team that had to go through some stuff to get to 110. Opening day starter, gone. Maybe their best and most recognizable reliever. He's pitched a handful of days this year in Blake Trinan, so they lose Tony Gonsolin for a period of time. They've had to go through some adversity here, and yet at no point was there any give up or hiccup in this club.
No, I love the word Dave Roberts uses to describe his team, relentless. That's how they play. Like, they had this division salted away for a while, never took their foot off the pedal. You make a good point about what they've gone through, and don't forget they had Craig Kimbrell in the closer role, and they have to take him out of there. And I think people are looking for flaws in this team because they are so good, Nelly, that I think they're stretching to find something wrong with this team. Like, people will talk about their starting pitching or their bullpen. I don't see any problem with either one, to be honest with you. This tells you a lot, right? Run differential, they blow out a lot of teams. Only the great teams do that, and certainly they're stacking up against some of the greatest teams that we've seen in recent history. But think about closing games, right? Because in the postseason, it's not just about the ninth inning. Like, Dave Roberts has managed 77 postseason games. His relief pitchers have more wins than his starting pitchers. His starting pitchers have gone through the lineup 3 full times, 6 times in 77 postseason games. So don't tell me about the Dodgers starting pitching, winning and losing a series. Not going to happen. They managed a game, put the game in the hands of the bullpen. Now you think about their bullpen, think about the options that they have. It's sort of like what the Rays have done over the years. We get different looks, different stuff. You got Faccia with the high four-seam fastball to come in and get guys out who like the ball down. He'll beat you up. You got Gratterall throwing cutters and sinkers and up to 100 miles an hour putting the ball on the ground. Evan Phillips has had good of a year as any relief pitcher. Fastball mid-90s, wipeout power slider. So they got multiple guys to beat you, to match up against you, to beat you late in the game. And there's no formula. Dave Roberts is going to look at the runway of hitters coming up, whatever the inning it is, and put his best guy in the game and go from there. This has worked for them year after year, postseason after postseason. So if you're looking for a flaw in this Dodger team, I'll be honest with you, I don't see it. Especially home field advantage through every round. They're going to be a tough out.
You circling the name of Evan Phillips, we often joke in this game, hey, if you make a trade with the Rays or you don't give up the pitcher that they want. Well, they didn't want Evan Phillips or didn't know what to do with him. And how often do we say that? He comes to L.A. and he becomes one of the best in the business, Rec. Look, Dave Roberts started this year by going right at the narrative. World Series or bust. Basically said, yeah, that's the way it is in Los Angeles. So when the conversation of pressure on L.A. to carry on this historic season, 110 victories, maybe 111 after today, and then cap it with a World Series title, that's nothing new to L.A. They've been addressing that from day one of spring training.
And to me, it speaks to this organization, the way they've done things from the top down, the fact that they've gotten such great performances out of the bullpen from guys that weren't and are not household names. And to me, it comes down to, you say there's no formula. There isn't. They don't have a 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning guy. They don't do things that way. They say, what's the matchup? How can we exploit it? Who is our guy who attacks these types of hitters the best? They can generalize it and kind of group hitters into what they are, and then realistically they know what relievers they need to use in certain situations, and they do that better than anyone. And that's not just a Dave Roberts thing. It's not just a Dodgers. It's the whole organization. They all come together and they put their minds together and they do a really good job from the front office on down of putting together these game plans and really going out and attacking the other team the right way.
I think it's important. I was going to say, that's a great point what he made about pitchers going there. I remember talking to Tyler Anderson in April because he wasn't guaranteed a spot in the rotation. It's like, why did you sign here? He said, I want to go to the postseason, first of all. And then he said, I know they get the best out of whatever you have. Yep. And you look at what he's done with them, it certainly worked out that way. He had a good changeup before. It's been otherworldly with the Dodgers. He's throwing it softer. He's throwing it more often, like the Rays. You've got a good pitch. The Dodgers will make sure you max out on that pitch and keep throwing that pitch. So you look at Tyler Anderson, you go, he doesn't throw hard. Starting pitching, somebody can get to him. No, he's pitched the whole year. He's been lights out with that changeup. So I have more confidence in these guys than a lot of people do when they just don't see big velocity, big names.
The last thing I want to say about the Dodgers, I think it's important to stress to fans who don't pay attention to LA closely. I think there's a narrative out there that because they have the second highest payroll in baseball, $260 million, that they've bought 110 victories. But the entire organization is a well-oiled machine. They not only sign big-name free agents and create arguably the best first three in a lineup that we've ever seen in Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, and Freddie Freeman. Not only do they win in trades, but they draft, they develop, they do well in international signing and scouting. They bring in the right guys, and they've revitalized careers. You talk about Tyler Anderson, Justin Turner, one of those guys, Max Muncy, another one of those guys, Chris Taylor, another one of those guys. And next year, the commitments, I think, are like just a tick more than $100 million. Now, ARB figures and free agent signings, that'll bump that up a little bit. But also keep in mind, they still have the #2 farm system in all of baseball. So this is an entire machine, not just an ATM. And I think that's important to stress.
Yeah, you touched on something really important. We think about development, usually in the low minors. How about major league development? That's what they do. You mentioned some of those. Chris Taylor, Max Muncy, Justin Turner. Gonsolin has gotten better on the big league level, even better than he was in the minors. Anderson we talked about. So it's not an accident that this keeps happening in the Dodger system.